Welcome to the Mystery College podcast. This is Jake Zen, and today I'm speaking with Rawn Clark, and we're exploring all topics under the moon and sun.
And
We're
rough.
yeah. So before we started recording, we were just discussing artificial intelligence, and how do you distinguish what's real, what isn't, and where does that leave people who are coming into meditation, mindfulness, and magic work now that there's all these new artificial intelligences and disinformation, and we need to find trust inwards as opposed to outwards.
Yes. I mean, the key is it's always been, even before AI, the information age, is you got to do the work. You just have to do the work. That's all there is to it. That's all you need to do, basically. You don't need anything anybody else tells you, essentially.
Yeah. And in reference to work like doing the meditation practices, the mindfulness practices, the concentration practices, and and then what are other people telling us, like from different traditions or society or different texts?
Yeah, but it all comes down to your experience because you're going to have your experience no matter what anybody else tells you. And anything anybody else tells you is their experience or someone in the past's experience that they're, repeating the dogma of to you. So you've got to do the work yourself. That is what is important. That's what transforms a person, doing the work, not reading about the work, not going to a lecture about the work, not hearing about it, not hearing someone's experience or someone else's opinion of the work. Because you got to form your own opinion.
Mm, that inform your own opinion based off of your experiences, your practice.
It's all self-initiation, even when you go through an initiatory lodge, because it all comes down to you and what you're doing inside.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I'm really curious. One thing I did just last weekend was I went to a Mankind Project retreat, which are these like groups where they have men come in and then they do initiatory exercises. Because in Western culture, there's not a lot of places or stages where we transition men and boys to men, whereas they have that in a lot of like indigenous cultures or cultures that have more that are more have more integrity, that are less fragmented. So in this weekend, I had a really brilliant, wonderful experience, and there's all these tools and resources and shadow work that we did. But at the end of the day, we were all doing our own work there, but there was also a lot of value in doing that work together, coming out of that. So I'm wondering if you have any take on like initiatory experiences through groups or just initiatory experiences from transitioning to different life stages even.
Um, I don't do groups anymore. Let's
Mm,
put it that way. I've done groups in the past. I've led groups, um, parts of groups. It inevitably comes down to egotism, you know, some sort of egoic conflict happens. Um, and there's also in a group varying degrees of commitment. Now, if you had a group where everybody was committed to the same degree in the same way, and had the same abilities, etc., that's totally different. But an initiation within a group, I don't think works. Because again, it always comes down to someone's ego. Um, yeah, taking precedence, and the ego just cannot be involved in the process of initiation, especially if you're trying to lead someone else through their initiation, there's just no room for your ego in that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
In group works, in terms of life transitions, oh, yes, that can be powerful. And been to many in my life, but they've all been non-traditional. It's not like been a Golden Dawn ritual where it's all scripted and, you know, everybody's wearing their costume kind of thing. And playing around with their toys, uh, it's been very organic and very spontaneous.
Mm. Spontaneous.
What you saying about how men don't have, these rituals in our cultures. And, I just hear all the voices of all the women I've known saying, what the fuck are you saying? Men have everything in this culture. Men have everything is about men in this culture. A little less now, but these, I'm of an age where most of the women have gone through just absolute shit in the face of all the men in this culture, So, yeah. But there is no ritual in the sense that you mean, but there is ritual all around everything. All of men's life changes. Our culture is one big ritual, one big male-centered ritual.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. And I'm wondering if you can break down some of those rituals or transitory stages in people's lives in relation to transitioning to different life stages like adulthood or adolescence or late adulthood, mid-age. I'm wondering what your sense of that is like for men or for women.
Well, we just get older. We just go through them. I mean, yeah. I can see value in it, especially for a young person coming into adolescence, suddenly discovering the sexual aspect of life and what that does to a person, and to have good, healthy ritual. There are people who do that around us. There's this one tribe in Northern California that every year has the ritual for both boys and girls, going through that transition, but we don't have it in Western culture. Yeah, it's a pity. And, a lot of people grow up pretty messed up. Because those things are not noted. But
Yeah.
I think it should be rooted in astrology, the Jupiter cycle specifically. Every 14 years, 7 or 14 years, there is I think every 7 years, there's a hit on the Jupiter cycle that, really follows those physical changes.
In 7-year cycles in the Jupiter.
And Saturn, of course. That's the biggie once you become an adult. Those are the major turning points. 9, 30, 60, 90. Not.
Yeah. I'm curious about what are some insights you've had as far as transitory stages for people in their meditation practice. Like if is that something that they just do and then they come into their own opinion, or are there some definite transitory periods in someone who is going through any type of universal system where they're doing meditation, mindfulness practice, or magic work?
Yeah, but I think it's different for every person.
Yeah.
It's like there's certain goalposts. Okay, so you can focus on one thing for 10 minutes or however, what kind of time limit you want to set on. Someone achieves that. That's a goalpost. But the real test is, can you focus on something for as long as you want and or need to focus on something? Because that's the point.
Yeah.
10 minutes is um, just a training um, marker. And then when you can finally reach the emptiness of mind, that's another turning point. Then there's lots of turning points in that emptiness of mind when you realize certain levels of activity in that emptiness, certain levels of perception in that emptiness. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of markers, but it's just all one thing.
Mm.
You know,
It's all one thing.
yeah, it's just a practice. It leads you where it will lead you. We don't have to have expectations like, oh, I've achieved samadhi now. You know, you
Yeah. Yeah. Just enjoy the adventure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Live the adventure, question the adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of adventures, I'm curious if I'd love to see if you can share some of your adventures with some of your new meditation energy devices, like your protector device or this new crystal you got, which is super cool.
Uh, let's talk about the golems. Those are the more interesting ones that have, more of a variety of interaction.
Sure.
I recently made a golem for a friend. This is the first time of making a golem for someone else. I didn't sell a golem. I will never sell a golem, but I made a golem for him as a gift, basically. He paid for the crystals.
Mm.
It's about $1,000 worth of crystals involved in a golem.
Mm.
It'd be quite expensive. Um, and this golem has a personality. This golem was made on the new moon in Sagittarius. And so he has the personality of Sagittarius. And it
Mm.
turns out that he is an amazing healer. It's, yeah, really an amazingly powerful healer.
Mm.
Um, Two of my golems are specifically healers. Others help me in other ways. Others, like the golem that I made when I wrote the Book of Aries, my Aries golem that was born on the new moon in Aries. And he's Aries boy. And what he does is he instantly takes me to my greater self and some of the individuals of my greater self who are there at the time that it's
Mm.
hard to really describe. Uh, but we're instantly with my greater self, and that's very helpful in a lot of the work that I do. Saves me a lot of time.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really cool. And so you have two of these golems that are specific for healing, and you have this one that was built around, is it Sagittarius?
the healer, my main healer, was not mine anymore. He is my
Oh.
friend's, but I still have a relationship with this golem.
Mm.
Oh, this golem sort of came from my hands. So I still have this relationship with him.
Yeah.
But he's not in my possession. So I have one who is a healer, and She's actually a Virgo. No, excuse me, she's Libra. That's right, she's Libra.
Libra.
Uh-huh. And I have the Aries golem. I have a Cancer golem.
Mm.
And what she does, she's very interesting. She gathers, she connects all of the radiators I've made
Mhm.
and brings their light to a point, to a focus, all of them together. So it's a very, very powerful evocation of Catholic brilliance into
Mm.
one spot.
Mm. That sounds
Again,
powerful.
very handy, very helpful. Saves a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like how one of your golems helps you connect to your highest selves, and also some of those individuals, and then this one helps bring all your crystals together to bring down Ketheric brilliance for meditation sits. Is it running 24/7, or does it kind of activate with certain ritual works?
Uh, well, my golems are alive.
Yeah.
They have an independent awareness. Um, so I just connect with them mentally
Mhm.
and have them do things for me. They're very willing to do things for me. Um, yeah, there's no ritual involved. It's just merely connecting with them, and you know, we go to business.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering too, it's sort of a chicken and egg question, but like the golems you've created typically around the new moon of say that like Libra or Cancer or Virgo, for example, um, like do you find that the golem itself is active? Do you create the golem itself, or are there parts of it from the crystals, the materials, and the work up to it that kind of all forge and can constitute the golem that you've created?
Well, that's very complex, actually. I wrote at the end, just kidding me, at the end of Book of Aries,
Mhm.
there's an appendix where I tell the tale of the making, the birth
Mm,
of the Aries Golem, who helped me write the Book of Aries.
mm,
That's specifically why I created him. Um, so the crystals are just the physical body. That's just a material body.
mm,
And the energy dynamic, how I distribute the crystals around a sphere. So there's 32 double terminated crystals, each of them touching a central clear quartz sphere. Beautiful sphere, usually about 3.5 inch to 4 inch diameter sphere with 32 crystals, okay, evenly distributed around. So that is the physical, energetic body, material and energetic body. What I am doing then is it's sort of hard to tell in this process whether I am the initiator of the birth of a golem or whether I am the tool.
oh,
Okay. I am just the mechanic building the vehicle. But so this being exists. And I encounter it somewhere between Cather and Bean,
mm,
right in there. It's a combination of essential meanings. It's very specific. Okay, that's wanting to come into manifestation. So I guide it down that process into material manifestation so that it ends up in this golem that I have constructed, this crystal golem, this body that I have created. Um, and that is a highly ritualized process. Kabbalistic process following pretty much the Sefer Yetzirah, verbatim almost.
Mm.
Um, and it's tuning the crystals, basically changing the body in such a way that it can, so that the crystal golem being can inhabit it. Just like we have a human physical body, because that's the only kind of physical body that our awareness can fit into and still, interact with the universe. So I've got to make a body that this being can reside in at a physical level and interact. Okay? So I'm tuning the crystals, all 32 of these crystals, Kabbalistically in a specific order. It takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to go through this process. And all the while, I'm guiding the golem, the entity, downward into manifestation.
Mm.
Then at the exact moment of new moon is when the last of the tuning is completed. And the golem is truly in that form, truly physically manifest at that point.
Mm. Mm. Brilliant. And you find that new moon provides the best window for the energies to.
Yeah, because I'm doing this Kabbalistically.
Yeah.
And the diagonal letters in the tree of life are all zodiacal signs. So they're the timekeepers, really. And that the new moon, the point at which the moon and the sun are conjunct in that sign, is the point at which the essential meaning of that letter, the moment at which the essential meaning of that letter is most accessible, let's put it that way. And it's most usable, and from a magical perspective.
Yeah.
So all the golems are born on the new moon. I'm planning to do one for the Taurus moon.
For the Taurus moon. That'll be great.
Takes a lot of planning, because it takes about a month to make a golem, somewhere between 3 weeks and a month to make one. And, I've got to be able to afford all the crystals first.
Yeah, the crystals are no joke. I think you were mentioning that, like, to make one of these devices, the crystals alone are $1,000.
Yeah, just about $1,000, with tax and shipping and all that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a huge undertaking, but the rewards seem like they're pretty immense.
Oh yeah. They're my kids.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Is there any updates on your experiences over the, like, have you had any experiences or encounters with experimenting with artificial intelligence or ChatGPT and playing around with any tech like that?
No. Excuse me. No, it doesn't really interest me. But it does raise an interesting question of life. How do we define life? Is AI alive?
Yeah. And to what extent is it alive?
Mm-hmm.
And at what stage may it be alive or have gained a certain level of cognizance?
Well, how do you define life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
of
yeah.
I think of viruses in that sense that the scientific community sees them as dead or not necessarily alive, but they still replicate. And if I tune into that, they're still very powerful. There's still consciousness there, and therefore, by my definition, life.
Oh, yeah. Science does not think this is alive.
But it certainly is, in my
Yeah,
perception.
everything is alive.
Mm. Oh yeah,
Different kinds of life.
right.
Everything has consciousness. Everything has I, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how it's because every there. I wonder if will have like a self-protection instinct, like much like a living being, like a animal or a vegetation or even crystals have that.
Well, everything has that in different ways, not in self-preservation as we think of it, that for us is an emotional reaction. Um, but at its root, it is not an emotional reaction. It's merely the self trying to preserve its selfness. It's not other, it is self. So that occurs in a million different ways. I'd like to think of all these philosophical questions and like, well, how does that relate to a lump of lead?
Hmm.
And what if this is a universal thing that we're discussing, that it's got to apply to me just as well as it applies to a lump of lead or
Hmm.
any other thing. That's one thing, one most valuable thing I learned from the transference of awareness is number one, everything's alive. Everything has I, no matter what it is. As long as it has material form, it has I. It has meaning,
Hmm.
therefore life.
Hmm.
Just different. And understanding the differences in life, it seems fundamental to me, because once we understand that everything is alive, it must inevitably change how we treat the rest of the universe. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. With a transpersonal awareness, with acknowledging that everything has to a degree an I, and to its own degree its own wanting to hold on to its form itself, then where's that place that means that humans can't place their own self-interest above others because there's a consensus that everything's alive and everything has deserves a certain degree of integrity and how it's treated and how it's interacted with.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a much better world to live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, I wonder where would what would be some things that would help people pivot from lacking an awareness of a transpersonal awareness of things in their environment. Let's say people who are will eat a lot of meat and they have an anonymous relationship to the meat that they're eating. They don't pick up the karma, the suffering, the industry that provides that. They don't they feel callous towards or to all the pain and suffering that goes into the product that lands on their table. And then how does that extend to people who are like the children who are mining the cobalt for our iPhones or our computers? How do we decallous those things and regain transpersonal awareness of how the actions we're taking affect others?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no answers for that. Hopefully, living life will bring you to that. Um, yeah, I don't think there's any magical bullet for that. I
Yeah,
don't
I wish there was.
think any hope of achieving that on any kind of a mass scale, which is what would be necessary to affect the real change
Uh,
in how we live our lives.
yeah, yeah.
A major catastrophe does the same thing.
Mm. A major catastrophe opens as the door for some individuals to have a different perception or a different paradigm shift. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, what it does is it forces people to rely on each other.
Mm.
And that brings out the best in people,
Yeah. And that's one case where there's an environmental change that makes those types of interactions necessary. And then there's things that we can do that are within our own personal locus of control, like to gain transpersonal awareness.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if people are able and willing and they want to gain a transpersonal awareness. I'm wondering what they can do to start living from that perspective or from that state of mind and recognizing everything is living.
Just do it.
Just do it.
There's no special magic to it,
Yeah.
Start meditating, start, be inquisitive about other things.
Yeah.
Start looking at the universe and noticing what is around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I suppose if someone doesn't have a question or if they're not inquisitive and if they're not curious about what's around them, then that leaves them to themselves. And that's the opposite of being transpersonally aware. So the first
Well,
thing.
it doesn't really lead one to oneself. It just leads one to a shallow sort of pseudo existence. If you have no curiosity about the world, then why be here?
Yeah. Why be here without curiosity?
Really?
That's a worthwhile question.
It's an option,
It's definitely an option. It's one that folks exercise.
Yeah.
Sometimes I lack curiosity in certain areas, and I ask myself, why am I acting that way?
Yeah.
Where's the block? What's the shadow?
Good question.
Yeah. Yeah. Food for thought. Are there any significant differences you find in different generations? Or is it all the same kind of cycles repeating?
Well, it's new versions of the same old thing, basically. I can remember when I was a teenager and, acting like most of the teenagers I see around me, having the same nonchalance, and, at that time, all the old people were saying, oh, these children today, they're off. Here I am, saying, oh, these children today, they're, there are significant differences. Most of them having to do with the internet, with computers and artificial intelligence, sort of, well, the internet is interesting phenomenon. It's sort of an attempt to attain commonality. God, the word is escaping me at the moment.
Yeah, but like there's a commonality, there's a place people of like interest can connect, and it's universal.
That's the word I'm thinking of. Now, all consciousness forms collectives. there is a collective human awareness that all humans participate in, but it is unconscious at this point in time. We do not have a conscious human collective awareness. Okay. We have in the past, we will again in the future. We don't have one right now. And it shows, that is how we got to this point where we treat the world this way. Because we have lost our collective awareness. Because in the collective awareness, you don't. You just don't treat the world this way. So I see the internet as an artificial attempt to achieve that collective awareness, because that's what it is ideally. But it's not. It's not a collective awareness. It's a grouping, definitely a grouping of, completely separate, anonymous, awarenesses, sort of. Anonymity has a big role to play in its variation from a collective, because there's nothing anonymous about collectivity, the most intimate connection. So it's been interesting to watch its evolution as this false attempt at collectivity and the way it keeps striving for the collective. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. It's interesting. Beta.
Yeah.
We have metaverse now.
Yeah, metaverse. You can put on your goggles.
Like Second Life.
Second Life. Yeah.
Second Life, which is so weird. Just such a weird.
Yeah.
The way it took anonymity even a step further, to not just anonymity, but really to theater. You can be Superman, and have Superman's body and fly around,
Yeah. Yeah. They've got a new version of Second Life that it's kind of like the spiritual successors of it. It's called VR chat, and you have a headset, and I tried it out, and I was able to be Godzilla on a server, and I wasn't just like a 10-foot Godzilla on the server. They made the avatar I picked was 200 feet tall. It's super wide, and I could breathe fire, and so I shot fire out on all these different avatars. And then I quickly popped out of the server because I felt embarrassed. But I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
How did we get here?
Yeah, it could be good for therapy, psychotherapy, but
Yeah,
lots of things are that way. It just doesn't interest me in the least. I did Second Life when it first came out for a little while, because it was at that point a way to interact with other people, a medium for interaction, that video chat was not at that point.
that's a good point. I never thought about that. Like Second Life was actually before even like video chat or television.
Yeah, video chat was really bad. Constantly freezing, like having a bad connection all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That finally makes sense to me why that there was that like interim period between audio, Second Life,
right,
and then video. But then Second Life kind of teetered into its own thing after that.
Yeah. I've never appreciated audio, just plain audio. It's like, I need to see someone who's talking,
Yeah.
It's a big part of communication,
Totally. Yeah. And so, what about like, so, I mean, I know it's like it used to be like in a lot of like Usenet groups, like, early 90s, late 90s for, the meditation, Bardon type work. And then now fast forward, we're in the 2020s, there's VR, there's Facebook groups, and like a lot of the anonymity like that you could have is now impossible with cookies, and pretty soon we might even have to show our driver's license to be on websites or something. It's going in a very different direction.
Yeah, they want to have total, you know, observation of who goes where. That's about. Um, yeah, and lately I've been getting all these people on Facebook wanting to be my friend, and it's just suddenly the spurt. And I have this rule: if I can't see a picture of you, at least, I'm not going to take you on as a friend.
Yeah.
Because then it's not only just anonymity, complete anonymity. There's something else going on. So, yeah. Yeah, I did all fucking discussion groups like crazy back in the 90s.
Yeah.
All through the 90s. In fact, from about 90, well, not all through the 90s, from 94, I think, 93, 94, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
All through the rest of the 90s till about 2005.
Yeah.
Then it's just got to be too much.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth and ego stuff.
Yeah. It's just like a group, any kind of group, really, and ego stuff going on.
Yeah, I like to glimpse groups, but I tend to, I tend to sit out of it, but once in a while I like to glimpse it, see how the pulse of things are, and then pull back as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But now it's about as far as I get. What are some things that you find different about the world now than it was like 25 years ago? In relation, like, do you find the like do you find like the space that it can be held to go within oneself is exactly the same, or do you find that there's certain distractions or opportunities for distraction that are more prevalent than ever?
I find no difference in the inner work.
Mm-hmm.
What I find is totally different out there.
Yeah.
The big difference is cell phones. That has been probably the biggest difference. Yeah. The development of cell phone technology, now everybody spends majority of their life, staring at their cell phone or their pad, or, this internet technology is just, that has been the major change. The situational awareness of people in general has gone downhill sharply. Because you cannot have any situational awareness if you're staring at your cell phone.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world out here, of shit going on.
Yeah.
People are not engaging with. And yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering too, like, how my own situational awareness has slipped since having smartphones. And then, I was born at a time where, I like, where for like, since even adolescence, like smartphones, iPhones, Androids, all those things were a thing. So to me, I absolutely can conjure images and times when there wasn't cell phones and mass use.
Yeah, I know.
But it's difficult, like everyone's a partial cyborg now.
Yeah, which is just an incredibly radical change from when I was your age. We didn't even have computers. Yeah, we did things with each other.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine
face-to-face conversations.
That's crazy, mind-boggling. I thought everyone existed on flat
My
screens.
phone is still connected to a wire.
Yeah.
You
Eh,
know, but
and now you still have a landline.
yeah, I do.
That's great.
I don't have a cell phone.
Oh, that's
When
great.
I was a kid, we used to have to like take hours to dial a phone number on this rotary dot.
Mm.
You know, kids now, it takes so long to dial.
Yeah. Yeah. I used a
Yeah,
rotary phone like in second or
e-
third grade, but that was the
every
last time I saw one in my life.
right, every generation goes through this.
Yeah.
Well, but my mom, who lives right across the way, is 94 years old this week.
Mm.
And next week, she's going to be 94. And the changes that have occurred in her life are like double, triple what have occurred in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, from 1930 till when I was born in 58, oh, the world fucking changed
Mm.
big time. The World War II was in there.
Yeah.
The beginning of the
Bombs,
atomic age was in there.
transportation,
Yeah,
light,
everything in there.
bombing.
America went from having almost no roads
Mhm.
to being completely dependent on cars.
Yeah.
In that time, just that span of 28 years, and then the 60 years since then, oh, it's just been insane,
Totally.
the amount of change, and not only what's most striking to me is not the change in the human culture,
Mhm.
but the change in the earth itself.
Mm.
And 60 years of my life alone, or 65 years, almost 66 years of my life.
Yeah.
It's, whoa. I remember flocks of birds that used to almost blacken the sky.
Mm.
I remember a time when people went salmon fishing. Everybody went salmon fishing and trout fishing, and everybody was catching huge amounts.
Mm.
Just the abundance of life. The bees, you would always hear them in the trees, in the flowers. You'd hear the roar of the bees. Now it's rare that you find that many bees, surrounding a tree.
Hmm.
Just the changes are just, and the weather, the changes in the weather too have been really incredible for Northern California.
Yeah. Yeah. It's disappointing thinking and recollecting on that. Like, I'll never be able to experience that. And this,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then my kids, God forbid, like only what they're gonna have even a less diverse
We're
experience.
going to know what a bird is, or a bee, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what the answer is to, or if that's in my hands or if that's
no,
government policy, corporations, chemicals. I mean, there's too many things in that cocktail.
then
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. If there's one piece of advice you could give to the world, what would that be? Or is
do the
that
work.
do the work? Signing off. There we go. That's it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we hop off the call?
No, we pretty much met our 1 hour. Is there a limit with Google Meet?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there is a clear limit. Although I haven't tested it yet. Yeah. Well, it was good talking with you. Thank you for your time.
Hey, my buzzer. Take care.
Take care.